What does a lava lamp have to do with internet security?
The yellow smiley face became a symbol of the countercultural movement during the 1970s. Where did it come from?
You know that film scene where Marilyn Monroe's dress billows up thanks to the updraft from the subway? As you will soon discover, a lot happened during and after that shoot.
And finally, in this episode, we have a look at the birth of the Diners Club credit card and how it was born of embarrassment.
Hello and welcome to REMORANDOM, a celebration of everything interesting. I'm Remo Dufresne.
And I'm Claudia Chan Shaw.
And I'm 65.
Nang, 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 nang. Happy birthday.
I know, it's a big one. Just happened the other day and found a baby picture of myself, put the number 65 on top of it, put it up on Facebook, got lots of comments, lots of engagement.
Oh, people love birthdays. Everybody has a birthday, and you are special on your birthday. Forget every other day, but you're special, especially on your 65th.
So two things, well, three good things about my 65th birthday. I was, first of all, you know, to the extent that it's required, I mean, we have access to whatever superannuation we happen to have in case we need it for one reason or another. Secondly, the shingles vaccine is now free because up until 65, it costs you like $500. I do remember we were going to get vaccinated a couple of years ago, and we were at the chemist, and he was ringing it up, and we thought, why is this costing $600 and something? And he told us.
Wow.
And so that's what we decided to just basically hide out.
Wait.
Stay home for 2 years. Stay away from any sources of shingles. Anyway, so now I can shingle bells, I call it. And we were at the River Shack for the actual night and shared a pot of mussels. So that was a nice thing to
nice.
do.
Lovely. Beautiful.
But I don't feel 65. You know, I always feel like I'm kind of just starting something. And
yeah, well, you are. You never stop starting something, which is a great thing. Stop starting. Stop.
There's a lot of stuff ahead.
Isn't it interesting though? You think about your parents' generation, certainly their parents. 65 was ancient, and now 65 is just, you know, you're just beginning. You're doing more stuff.
And people who are in their 70s say, "Oh, if only I was 65 again." That's kind of like as if it's 21.
Yeah, 65 is a new 20. I can remember when I was about 20. I used to think that 30 was really old, and so she was really old. She was 30. My mother would laugh. One day you will come to understand how the world works, my dear. Yeah, okay. What is
But
old?
I am 65, and therefore I am old enough to remember lava lamps.
I remember lava lamps, but I'm not 65.
I know, nowhere near that. So, you know what we're talking about, the lava lamp, that thing that sits on the, mantelpiece or the coffee table and heats up, and then little blobs of coloured wax move around. So where did they come from? Well, the story is that in 1948, in a Dorset pub, there was a British accountant. Well, he was a British accountant. He was also a movie maker and an entrepreneur, and as it happens, a naturist. So a naturist is like a nudie, by the way. It's not.
I thought that was not a naturalist.
No, it's a naturist. His name, Edward Craven Walker. So he was in this Dorset pub and he noticed something weird on the stovetop. And it was like a jerry-rigged egg timer that was made up of a cocktail shaker, some old tins and wax. And so these people were using it as a way to know when to take the egg off the boil, which is kind of seems like an over-engineered way to time the boiling of an egg.
Yeah,
anyway,
could just look at your watch.
Edward was inspired by the mesmerizing sight of this kind of moving wax and decided that he would develop a lamp, the lava lamp, which would go on to become that definitive symbol of that counterculture movement of the 60s and a design classic. So he hired a British inventor, David George Smith, to develop the device, and the chemical formula, and he called his first lava lamp Astro and founded a company called Crestworth to market his creation. Later, he renamed Crestworth Mathmos after the bubbling liquid force that lived under the city of Sogo in the cult 1960s French sci-fi comic strip Barbarella. Yeah, Mathmos was that bubbling, yeah. So it was later made into the Jane Fonda movie and,
Duran.
That's right. That's all the good words came from that movie. So showing a true grasp of his 1960s market, Craven Walker once said, "If you buy my lamp, you won't need to buy drugs." So the Astro lamp gained popularity, became synonymous with the hippie culture, but it actually became also somewhat mainstream, and lots of living rooms ended up with one of these things. In the book, it's chapter 7 of the first book, I do have a photograph of Ringo Starr in his living room with a classic copper Astro lava lamp in the background. It kind of fizzed after the 70s, but made a resurgence in the 90s as sort of a retro novelty item, and they're still around today. I know our son Roman gave our daughter Lola a lava lamp for her 30th birthday not so long ago in Rotterdam, and initially that wax wasn't moving around much, and I thought maybe he bought a dud, but then by the time it hit it up nicely, it was moving, and I took a video of it and texted it to him, and I said, "You can rest easy, mate. The lava lamp's doing its thing." So he didn't end up buying her a dud. But all of this is not the most interesting thing about lava lamps, actually. The most interesting thing about lava lamps has to do with internet security and secure data encryption. Now, let me explain. And it all has to do with randomness.
Okay.
So randomness is an important thing in the tech world. If you use a machine to generate a random sequence of numbers, then almost by definition, another machine can kind of reverse engineer how that came about. The best source of randomness is offline from the real world. And what is random in the real world? Well, someone figured out that the way that the wax moves around the inside of a lava lamp is truly random. So there is a website security company called Cloudflare. In the lobby of their headquarters in San Francisco, they have a wall with 100 lava lamps, all
that would look great,
set out, one next to each other, and they have camera, like high-fidelity camera, trained on this wall of lava lamps, which is taking multiple frames per second, and then using an algorithm to translate the physicality of what is taken into a string of numbers, which are random because they're born of this, physical wall of lava lamps. So when you go to a website and it says it's secure and encrypted or it's insecure or whatever, the source of these big long numbers that webmasters use to make their sites secure, more likely than not, comes from what the lava lamp was doing at that particular moment in this lobby in San Francisco, which I kind of found fascinating, that someone had kind of figured out this perfect tech use for this very kind of low-tech hippies thing. So I hope you enjoyed that. There's a video on a link to it from the website, a guy called Tom Scott. And so he's standing in front of this wall of lava lamps and he's explaining how it all works in more detail than I was able to just give you. So did you like that one?
I you know what I love? I can just visualize that wall of lava lamps all going, blah, 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 blah. I love that. I'd like to set one up in my lounge room. I think that looks terrific. Damn the data thingy.
I know.
I just like the look of it.
And you've got an excuse. Stuart, I know that it looks a little excessive, but we really need it to keep our internet secure.
And the power bill's down. Imagine all the power
Oh, yeah.
plugged into lots of power boards. That's cute. I like the idea. You know, you imagine someone there in the 70s lying on a beanbag watching a lava lamp and going, hey, the shapes, man, it's really great. Look at the colors. It takes us to the smiley face, another product of that wonderful
Same era.
70s.
Yeah.
Free love, happy, groovy man, baby, happiness and positivity. The smiley face. So where does it all begin? So there was a yellow and black smiley design that was used in the New York-based radio station WMCA. And they had this promo, The Good Guys, in 1962, big marketing campaign. And they gave away 11,000 yellow sweatshirts that they produced with this sort of smiley face on it. And they even gave one to Mick Jagger. And then in 1963, a graphic designer named Harvey Ross Ball was commissioned by the State Mutual Life Assurance Company in Worcester, Massachusetts, to come up with some sort of cheery, eye-catching symbol that would help the morale of the team. So he creates this design. He does it in 10 minutes. They pay him $45, and he's come up with a smiley face. And it's got a bright yellow background. It's got oval dark eyes. It's got a lovely smile, little crease at the end. And it's printed onto thousands of buttons. 1970 comes along, and the symbol gets worldwide recognition. There are two brothers, Bernard and Murray Spain, and they take this guy Ball's design, which has never been protected by Ball or his employer, and they add the words, have a nice day, and they churn out all of this merchandise, and they create one of the biggest fads of the decade. They sell 50 million badges, and the smiley face becomes an icon.
Ubiquitous, yeah.
Then, 1972, a Frenchman comes along, a journalist named Franklin Loufrani, and he becomes the first person to actually register the mark for commercial use. And he starts to use the logo to highlight some good news stories in the newspaper François. And he trademarks Smiley in over 100 countries, and he launches the Smiley Company. Loufrani's son Nicolas, or Nicolas en français, takes over the family business, and today the Smiley Company makes more than $130 million a year in licensing. It's one of the top 100 licensing companies. So think back, how would you feel if you were the original designer? Oops. Let me see. Note to self. Register next great idea.
Yeah.
So the smiley becomes this ubiquitous presence. It's in emojis. And the colour yellow, of course, is no accident, because studies have shown that yellow evokes these lovely feelings of happiness and tenderness, and it equals sunshine and joy and everything positive. I'm smiling now.
That's a great story. You know, the protecting something, it's not sort of like always an easy decision, because you're protecting something in one market might cost you
one region.
Few $1,000s. But if you really want to protect it everywhere, it's like, who's got that money? You know, so
Exactly.
I feel for those people. But
I actually thought
they're part of the
Forrest
story.
Gump.
They're
I
part of
thought
the story.
Forrest Gump invented it. Do you remember in Forrest Gump, he wipes his face with a shirt when he's been running for thousands of miles, and it's got a smiley face on it.
Oh, he invented everything.
He did.
Okay. Marilyn Monroe. What do you think of when I say Marilyn Monroe?
Oh, I think of, let me see, I think of Andy Warhol.
Right, yes. Well, she was iconic, there's no doubt.
Yes.
And the story in REMORANDOM number 2 is not just about her as an actor, but it's really specifically about her billowing dress from the 1955 Billy Wilder film, The 7-Year Itch. It's a very famous...
Classic.
It's a very famous scene from a movie where Marilyn, playing the girl, and co-star Tom Ewell, playing a guy called Richard Sherman, they exit a cinema on 52nd Street and Lexington Avenue. As an aside, having just watched The Creature from the Black Lagoon, the subject of another REMORANDOM story in a subsequent volume, when they hear the subway approaching, and she steps onto, on the sidewalks of New York, there's these grates, and so she steps onto the grate and says, "Ooh, do you feel the breeze from the subway?" as the wind blows the dress up, exposing her legs and underwear. Tom Yule is chuffed, as are the gathering of around about 1,000 boisterous, noisy onlookers watching the scene being shot across the road, even though it was like 1 a.m, right? So word got out, Marilyn's doing this scene, this gathering of gawky blokes, rather boisterous, are there. And why, and they stay there for take after take after take. Because, and this is a little bit saucy, this next bit, because Monroe, she wore 2 pairs of underwear for the shoot, as noted in a biography, Marilyn, The Passion and the Paradox. But even with 2 pairs of underwear, when the skirt blew up, a quote-unquote from the book, not my words, a dark blotch of pubic hair remained visible to the 100 male photographers and 1,500 male spectators. So they were all sort of waiting to cop a look every time the air blew up. So over and over again, shot after shot. So they had to they doctored all of the photographs from the shoot to not show said dark blotch. So it all sounds a little bit kind of sleazy, but in his book, Banner contends that, quite the contrary. Here's a figure of Marilyn standing above this phallic train passing underneath, in control. Well, I didn't really buy that, actually. It didn't, I thought that was a bit of a stretch, but it is kind of one of the reasons why this scene is so iconic. But the ramifications of her doing this scene, went far beyond the making of the movie, because at the time she was married to American baseballing legend Joe DiMaggio. Now, Joe was there for the beginning of the shoot, but walked off in a huff as take after take progressed, feeling that she was being complicit in this kind of accidental peep show. He was a jealous man, and they had a big fight that night when she returned to her hotel room. And it is just alleged that there was some kind of assault. Anyway, for whatever reason, that was the end of the marriage, and that was the trigger. So real world, real life ramifications flowing from this iconic scene. So the image of her standing above this, like with this billowing skirt, is so etched into our collective cultural consciousness that there is a giant 8-meter version of it made in stainless steel and aluminium called Forever Marilyn, which started life in Palm Springs and actually made it to a gallery in Australia in 2016. The Bendigo Art Gallery had it there.
Oh, for the Marilyn exhibition.
Right. Oh, there was a Marilyn exhibition there? Right. It ended up back in Palm Springs, in front of the entrance to the Palm Springs Art Museum. So this has created a new controversy because the figure is not facing the museum. The figure is facing out from the museum. So, and because there's a skirt blowing up the back of Marilyn, when people leave the museum, they basically get this giant view of a pair of panties, like upskirting, and there are many people that feel that this is not dignified, not appropriate, blatantly sexist. There was indeed a hashtag #MeTooMarilyn campaign. Elizabeth Armstrong, a spokesperson for the Change.org petition, said she's literally going to be mooning the museum. So misogyny in the guise of cultural nostalgia. You can decide for yourselves, but I just thought you would like to know the story.
There's an interesting flip side to that too, because during the filming of that scene on Lexington Avenue, there was so much noise from the people around. They ended up having to reshoot the scene in the studio because the soundtrack was ruined.
Yes, that. Yeah, I forgot to say that, but that's kind
Yeah.
of, oh no, don't.
After all of that.
After all that, Joe DiMaggio may still be around, may have stuck around if there wasn't like all the Gorka's wolf whistling.
Yeah. Bless you, Marilyn. That dress was sold at auction. It used to be in Debbie Reynolds' collection, and it went for an incredible amount of money, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
The 7-year itch dress. You could afford to buy the 7-year itch dress if you had a Diners Club credit card.
Oh, that is such an elegant, like, sideways segue there.
Oh, look, well, I'm swinging into the world of commerce now. So I've got my credit card in my pocket and I can buy said dress or a baseball card signed by Joe DiMaggio, perhaps. Anyway, so with my Diners Club credit card, where did this card come from? Who had the great idea? And the idea of this card was actually born of a moment of embarrassment. There's a fellow named Frank McNamara, and he's a businessman. And he's in a restaurant one evening in 1949, and the restaurant's called Major's Cabin Grill in New York. And he goes, "Oh, forgot my wallet. I can't pay for dinner." So he's terribly embarrassed. So he rings his wife, and luckily she comes and pays the bill. But he realizes that, hang on a sec, what if we didn't need cash? And he comes up with this idea for a universal charge card that lets people make purchases without cash. Sounds far-fetched in 1949, but what a great idea. So he gets his lawyer, Ralph Schneider, and their friend, Alfred Bloomingdale, and they found Diners Club in 1950. And they introduced this first multi-purpose charge card that's intended for use in restaurants, but expands to other establishments and travel services and things like that. So to launch the card, McNamara returns to the restaurant, the scene of the crime, and he goes back with his partner, Schneider. And when the bill comes, he gives them this little cardboard card, and it's known today as the Diners Club card, and it's hailed as the first supper. So the card lets members charge the purchases and settle the bill at the end of the month, and that's easier than carrying cash. So the members that we're talking about are about 200 of McNamara's friends and business associates. So this is this idea of a credit-based payment system. Well, other people looked at this and thought, what a good idea. In 1958, the Bank of America comes up with the Bank AmeriCard, which later becomes Visa, and that's followed by American Express, which comes up with their charge card in 1958. So it wasn't only technological, but it was this cultural idea, and it taps into this changed attitude towards consumerism at that time and the trend of cashless convenience that continues to this day, because we barely use cash anymore, do we?
No, I've just
Hardly
come back.
any.
I've just come back from a trip to Canada and the US, and it's the first time I've been to those places and not gone to an ATM once.
What about your singles for your tips?
Well, no. There's now the tip thing just happens on a little iPad screen or in front of you. Whenever you pay for anything,
Add
it's
the
kind
tip.
of like, yeah, and cheekily, they give you a range of options, and the lowest in the US was 18%.
So that they worked it to their advantage.
Except there's an Aussie, I don't know if there's a chain here called Fishbowl. It started in Bondi. It's like a poke bowl place. And they've got a very, very popular outpost in the West Village in New York called This Bowl. They're putting other things other than fish in there. That's why I guess they changed the name. And its tip screen had 10% as the low one. And I thought, that's the Australian coming through.
Yeah.
Nice guys. But, yeah, no, I didn't use cash. And I mean, forget about traveller's checks. Remember those when you?
Oh, yes. American Express, don't leave home without them. Mr. Wong, I lost all my traveller's checks. What kind were they? American Express.
What
And then
kind
Carl
were they?
Malden walks in. American Express.
And then there was
Don't
the
leave home without them.
Thomas Cook. Did used to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
So we always used to have traveller's checks in our luggage, and then the butts
Yep.
or the receipts in another place other than our luggage. You know, that was
That's right. That's right. And now you can just get a Travelex card and load your cash onto that, so you don't have to use your own credit card. You load the foreign cash on, you tap, and that's it. Off you
is
go.
that what you do?
I'm starting to do that now. Yeah, yeah.
So
Because
what's the-
then you've allocated your, this is my travel money. If you get in
Right.
trouble, then you dip into your other.
Yeah.
But it means that if you lose that card, it's not everything. You still got your other credit cards.
Oh God. Okay, I'm learning. You were right to tell that Diners Club story. That was a perfect thing. You are all over consumer credit.
And Diners Club is not in Australia anymore. It was phased out in October last year. So
Right. Indeed.
that's the end of Diners Club here.
And that's the end of the episode too. And but listen, have a great trip.
I will. Thank you.
And enjoy Paris, enjoy Lyon, enjoy wherever else you're going.
Thank you.
Art Nouveau, and folks, you can buy books online at remorandom.com. And do you want to?
And yes, I'd love to tell you, if you've got some great ideas for a story, might be better than Diners Club.
credit?
Although I can't think of anything that would be better than the story of the Diners Club card. But great stories, just let us know, remorandum.com, or email us at hello@remorandum.com.
Great, Claudia, thanks, and bon voyage.
Merci, à tout à l'heure.